It's my turn to do a question. This was one that was left over from last week, but it's a good one, and I just, sometimes we don't carry them over, but this time I thought it was worthwhile venture. So here we go, and it is, my dad was an alcoholic, and my mom died when I was 3 years old. Raised by my grandmother, she was wonderful, and I love her dearly.
Right.
What I'm worried about is that because I never knew my parents, that I might be a poor mate choice when the right man comes along. That's a really, it's a touching, very short email, but I sense a certain sincerity. I can almost envision that, there are those people that don't know their parents. And in this case...
Well, adopted kids don't know their parents, and yet they turn out fine. I wonder why that is. I know why that is.
Okay, tell me.
Well, we talk about the 5 factors of personality, and genetics are a part of that. The things that our parents give us, brown hair, brown eyes, the temperament that we're born with, they contribute that to us, and we don't have any control of that. And they didn't really have control of it either.
Sure.
But that's only one component of what makes us who we are.
So I think I see where you're going with this. Part of your answer to this is there's 5 factors that have to do with your personality development. And so in that, they all contribute to your personality development, and that tends to be a bigger decision about, what kind of a person you are.
Right. Then
I'll go through those 5, and I think that's where Carrie was going with this. Number one big factor has to do with your personality development is genetics. Your genetics, if your mom had dark hair, your dad had dark hair, it's likely you will. It's not always the case, but, for the most part, we tend to see that there is some resemblance to your ancestry. And there are some times that they skip generations. For instance, we have known that there were people that had depression problems. Mom was depressed, dad was depressed, but the kids never had these issues. And you skip a generation, and it seems like they cycle back through. So, but fundamentally, there are some pointers to your personality development that is based in your genetics and your DNA. The second one that has to do with your personality development is parenting style. And when we look at parenting styles, they start off with one extreme, which is very rigid. We call those autocratic families.
Right.
And we work our way all the way to the other dimension, which is the permissive families.
Well, you can get away with anything there.
There's no rules. There's no regulation. So you go from lots of rules, lots of regulation. Those are autocratic.
Right.
No rules, and just live life as you can one day at a time. Call those permissive. And in the middle, we see those as democratic. And that is, as the child achieves levels of wisdom and ability to accept responsibility, you give them some say-so in the choices of leading their life within the family.
Right.
Understand that parents always have veto power. So as you allow your children to exercise some say-so, it's not always whatever they contribute is okay. It's the parents are overseeing and they're watching and they're making sure that these decisions, are appropriate.
So in her case, her grandma would have been the one that would be providing the parenting style because she's the one that raised her.
And it appears to me that if she is listening to this broadcast, she needs to go back through that and see, was Grandma very autocratic? Was she rule regulated? Was she permissive, which means I can just go where and do what I want? Or was she more in that middle style? The third one, which is kind of an easy one for us, in that sibling position, without any information other than what I've got, I'm assuming you were raised as an only child. And that's something that, was left out here. And if you want to follow up with another email later, we'll certainly take it.
Yeah.
But when children come from large families and they're the firstborn, let's say 5, family of 5, versus the lastborn of the 5, we find that those kids tend to be very different in terms of the way they handle responsibility.
Right.
Now, I think Carrie knows where I'm going with this, but if you're the firstborn of 5 children, how might you be overly responsible? Have you...
Yes, because lots of times oldest kids get delegated to help out with the younger kids. So they begin to parent their younger brothers and sisters at a much younger age.
And you hear the parents say, watch out for your brothers, watch out for your sisters. More importantly, as we get into those economic times of not having a lot of extra money, they look to the oldest children to babysit.
Right.
Sometimes
at little or no cost.
and we have this notion of what's called an adult child, sometimes where we have children that are raised with such a level of maturity that they grew up much faster than what they should have because they were given too much responsibility.
Right.
But sibling position, we didn't discuss that because you didn't give us a lot of information there. Role models and mentors. You know, a role model is someone that you read about, someone that you might see on TV, hear about on the radio.
You know them from afar and admire them. Ooh,
Yes.
I'd like to be like that. I wish I had that. I wish I had that skill. I want to dance like that. But you don't actually know the person.
And when you know the person and that person gives you hands-on experience, we call those
Mentors.
You see? And that's so important. So many families I've worked with where the children have said, well, my mentor was a cousin. My mentor was my grandfather. That is the person that gave them hands-on. And in today's world where we have workaholic dads that are never home, sometimes it really isn't logical to assume that your dad was your mentor. Maybe your dad was in the military and always gone.
Yep.
He might have been a role model because you look forward to him and you know he's your dad. But if he didn't give you that hands-on direction, then that mentorship is there.
Yep.
And then finally, the last of the 5, which is family atmosphere. You know, I'm from New Orleans. You know, I used to bring Carrie to New Orleans religiously a couple of times a year because it was such a fun city. It's where people hug and you have that warm embrace that's always there. And of course, New Orleans is known for Mardi Gras and for the Jazz Festival and for so many things that have to do with quality relationships of seafood and being together and working to bring that home to a really warm level.
Right.
Family atmosphere is just that. But there are those other families that are cold, they're reserved, they don't trust.
Nope.
They have those very high boundaries. It's a closed system. Now, I give you that because of the 5, and I'll repeat all 5 of them, genetics, parenting style, sibling position, role models and mentors, and family atmosphere. 3 of those 5 are governed by
the person that raises you.
Yeah. So your grandmother, roughly, 60% of these, she had direct impact on your personality development.
Right.
So when you ask us the question about I'm raised by my grandmother, and you put so much emphasis on the mere fact that I was raised by my grandmother without really understanding those things that have to do with your personality development, then I think you missed the point that
You got to go give grandma more credit.
You absolutely can be a good match. We don't know yet from the information you gave us how good of a person that you turned out to be. My assumption is when you say she's wonderful and I love her dearly and that you're worried, what I'm sensing is that grandma's probably done a pretty good job. Now, let me explain to you why so many grandmothers do a pretty good job.
Why is that?
Well, there's that wisdom that comes with a generation that they've already passed through the house. They've learned a lot of lessons. They've applied these lessons to that next generation. And even though it may not be, your direct child, but it's your grandchild, etc., the wonderful essence of all that wisdom, of all that knowledge has been passed into your rearing. And you are a better person, much better than I think you realize, because you're putting too much value in grandma raised me and not enough value in those other assets.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Well, my hope is that this information's really helped you. And again, if you want to provide us more information, just send us another email and we'll be glad to go